Lila Wang, what on earth are you doing? I'm talking to you. A sharp pain in my hand snapped me back to reality. Seeing the sour-faced mother-in-law in front of me, her mouth constantly moving, I gaped in shock. But, hadn't my mother-in-law died long ago? I instinctively looked around and suddenly realized the youthful self beneath the blue checkered shirt I was wearing. I had been reborn. My mother-in-law's mouth was still moving up and down. Lila Wang. I told you my son shouldn't have married an old sow like you. What can an old sow like you possibly do right? Why is the foot washing water you brought me today so scalding hot? Are you trying to burn me to death? The mother-in-law struggled to bend down, exerting herself to pour the freshly prepared foot washing water onto the ground. Theo Ju had just returned from outside and, upon seeing this scene, didn't even change his expression. After washing his hands, he went straight into the inner room. A chill ran through my heart. In my previous life, he was just like this, handing over all family responsibilities to me, including taking care of his elderly mother who was paralyzed from the waist down. It wasn't that he couldn't see his mother's difficulties. He simply chose not to bother. I sneered, bent down to pick up my mother-in-law's foot washing basin, and flung it away with force. Too hot for you, then don't wash. It's already good enough that I poured water for you. If you're so capable, go pour it yourself. The basin clattered loudly as it rolled across the courtyard. My mother-in-law's mouth fell open. Perhaps she hadn't expected me, who had always been submissive and never talked back no matter how she scolded or hit me, to finally stand up for myself. Oh heavens, oh ancestors, look at this daughter-in-law of ours. She raised her hands and began wailing to the skies. Normally, I would have softened my voice to comfort her, but now I just stood with my arms crossed, watching her coldly. Theo Ju came out, frowning as he scolded me. Lila Wang, can you show some respect to my mom? She's my own mother. How could you talk like that? I found it amusing. When being served, they never see my efforts. But the moment I stop serving, they immediately jump out to blame me. Well said. I clapped my hands. I, Theo Ju, want a divorce with you, at this moment. Even my mother-in-law stopped wailing, like a goose whose neck had been grabbed. Not a single sound came out. Don't you like your first love? What's her name? Lin Xiu. Get divorced and be with her. I looked at Theo Ju, who furrowed his brows. What are you making a fuss about, Lila Wang? There's nothing between me and her. I nodded. That's right. After all, she's a young lady from a wealthy family, not as easy to fool as a country woman like me. Theo Ju's face darkened. He flicked his sleeve and walked out without saying a word. I called over my two children, who had been watching everything unfold from the corner. Jijie, Zaishi, do you want mom and dad to get divorced? Looking at these two children I brought into the world, my heart melted. Zaishi, 5 years old, looked at me with innocent confusion and said, Mom, is it because dad doesn't love you? A surge of bitterness welled up in my heart. Even a 5-year-old child could see the situation clearly. Yet in my past life, it was as if my eyes were clouded. I deceived myself until the very end. Jijie, being 9 years old, thought more deeply. He nodded like a little adult. If doing this makes mom happy, I support her decision. My eyes stung as I pulled the two tender children into my arms. The sharp voice of my mother-in-law rang out. No, you can't get divorced. Who would want you if you're divorced? Used Shu, hearing their grandmother's words. The two children gave her looks of silent resentment. I sighed. It was all my fault for raising them to be too gentle, constantly reminding them not to disobey their grandmother. Now, at such a young age, they've already learned to read people's moods. I snorted coldly. I've endured enough scolding day after day, and I can say with a clear conscience that I, Lila Wang, have not wronged you, Ili Zhong. Ever since marrying Theo Ju, I've treated his paralyzed mother as if she were my own, enduring beatings, scoldings, and all kinds of nitpicking without complaint. If it weren't for my meticulous care of his mother at home, would Theo Ju be able to live so freely outside? But what was the consequence of me struggling to support this family? I remembered my past life, feeling a dull ache in my heart. In my previous life, I toiled for Theo Ju my entire life, selflessly dedicating my best years without complaint. At home, I managed everything, raising two children, caring for his mother who was paralyzed from the waist down. Outside, when Theo Ju lacked funds to start a school, I woke early and stayed up late, collecting cardboard and scavenging through trash every day. He, Theo Ju, subjected me to emotional coldness, yet I remained diligent and uncomplaining. After 60 years of hardship, he, Theo Ju, became a prestigious principal, while I, worn out from overwork, was left with a body full of ailments and passed away early, after my death. Before my soul had even dissipated, Theo Ju immediately married his first love, Lin Xiu. By then, it was already the era of new media, and various outlets widely celebrated the love between Theo Ju and Lin Xiu. An 86-year-old man marries his first love, a touching lifelong romance. My soul hasn't yet dissipated, seeing the comments filled with praise and envy. Oh my, this is true love. If a man like this loved me, my life would be worth it, indeed. A man only truly loves one person in his lifetime. His first love, grandpa and grandma are so happy. Isn't the purpose of life to be with the one you love, wishing them happiness? At that moment, I saw the pair of crimson vertical banners hanging at the wedding, inscribed with the words, 60 years of separation. Love letters unable to convey the song of longing. I, the original wife, had become a joke. My now grown children stood by the wedding, looking particularly awkward. Looking at my young son and daughter now, I silently vowed in my heart, I've endured this half-cooked rice for a lifetime, and in this life, I refuse to eat it anymore. Snapping back to reality, I let out a cold laugh and said to Ili Zhong, this divorce is non-negotiable, since you think I can't serve you well enough. Let your precious son find you a new daughter-in-law. Ignoring my mother-in-law's curses, I walked out holding each child by the hand. I took my 2 children to town, spent money on 2 bowls of noodles, and had a fun day with them, buying each a set of clothes and toys. Jijie, still young at heart despite being sensible, couldn't hide her delighted expression when she saw the new clothes and toys. Jijie couldn't put down the toy in her hands and cautiously looked at me. Mom, are we spending too much like this? Will Dad blame you? My nose tingled with emotion. No, don't worry, Mom will make sure you have a better life in the future. Jijie cheered and then went off to play with his sister, toys in hand. I realized that in order to support Theo Ju's career, I had been cutting household expenses to the extreme, trying to stretch every penny, but in the process, I had neglected my sensible children. Fortunately, everything is starting anew now. I spent the day playing with the kids and then took them back to my parents' home. As soon as we arrived, my mother hurried out with her tiny bound feet, her face beaming like a flower. What brings you here? Come here to Grandma, my 2 little darlings. I suddenly felt even more guilty in my heart. Since getting married, the number of times I've returned home can be counted on one hand. While serving my mother-in-law time and time again, it never occurred to me that my own mother was left alone at home. I stared at my mother. It had been so long since I last saw her. After collecting myself for a moment, I called out, Mom, Mom, I want to divorce Theo Ju. My mother froze. What happened? Did he hurt you? This baseless trust made my grievances erupt instantly, tears welling up. I nodded and buried myself in my mother's arms. He never wanted to marry me in the first place. He only loves that first love of his. Lin Xiu. I poured out all the grievances I had suffered in a jumbled mess. My mother was so angry her lips trembled slightly. This marriage must end in divorce. She looked at my children beside me again. But what about the kids? I knew what she was thinking, but I had already lived a lifetime. With the experience from my past life, I was certain I could raise 2 children. There are indeed remarkable single mothers out there. Rather than finding them a father who would never warm up to them, it's better to raise the 2 of them well on my own. I said firmly, I must keep both children with me. My mother nodded. Then let's go get a divorce now. My mother was very efficient, taking me and Jijie back home by the stream. As soon as we stepped into the courtyard gate, I heard my mother-in-law's tearful complaint. Oh, you have no idea, this daughter-in-law of mine is so fierce. Today, she just threw my foot washing basin out with a whoosh. Look at this. Just look at this. None of you know what kind of bullying I have to endure every day. My mother walked in and said coldly, my daughter told me, but I didn't believe her, since it's come to this. Let's get a divorce, let's part on good terms. Only then did I notice many aunties from the village sitting around, watching as my dear mother-in-law badmouthed me behind my back. Ili Zhong's face immediately showed visible panic. Oh dear-in-law, what brings you here? If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have known my daughter was being talked about like this behind her back. Ili Zhong muttered, I was just kidding, just kidding. What's this about divorce that you mentioned? It's exactly what it sounds like. I want a divorce from your son, Theo Jew, I said coldly. The aunties and onlookers around us exchanged glances, their gossipy hearts instantly ignited. I realized this was an opportunity and immediately didn't give Lee Jong a chance to interrupt, speaking loudly. Ever since I married into your family, all the neighbors know that I wake up before dawn every day to work, washing clothes, cooking, and serving you. I've given birth to a son and a daughter for your family. I've done right by you all. Yet look how you've treated me in return. I covered my face and began to cry. Just today, I poured you foot-washing water and washed your feet for you. The water temperature was just right, yet you threw a tantrum at me again, calling me an old sow. Low murmurs arose around us. I sneered inwardly. All thanks to my previous meekness. The whole village knew the Jew family had married a dutiful and hard-working daughter-in-law. These aunties' combat effectiveness is truly formidable. Soon, everyone will know that Theo Jew and his mother have been bullying me. This marriage, they won't have a choice but to divorce. I continued to cry and complain. In winter, you made me hand-wash your clothes in the river. The water was so cold, and I had just given birth, yet you still made me go, and I went. But that wasn't the end of it. As soon as I got back, you accused me of disrespecting you and punished me by making me sleep in the woodshed. This incident did indeed happen, and many villagers witnessed it. As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd erupted in an uproar, forcing a woman who had just given birth to wash clothes in the river during the coldest months of winter. This was simply too cruel. Countless condemning gazes fell upon Lee Jong's face. Flushing her aged cheeks red with shame, I cried out loudly, "And what about Theo Jew? I'm just a rural woman with no money, yet he hasn't given me a single penny since we got married. Is it easy for me to raise 2 children and take care of his mother, just to earn a little food money? I have to collect cardboard every day. Theo Jew treats me like this all because of that woman in his heart, Professor's daughter Lin Xiu. If Theo Jew can't let go of Lin Xiu, then he shouldn't have married me, Lila Wang, and had 2 children with me. What kind of man does that make him?" A male voice filled with anger suddenly spoke up. Enough. I turned around and saw Theo Jew walking in with a dark expression. "You wanted a divorce, didn't you? I'll grant your wish." My eyes lit up. The divorce process is now very quick. But unexpectedly, another problem arose at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Lee Jong almost threw a tantrum at the Civil Affairs Bureau. "This is my Jew family's grandson. He must stay." She pointed to Jew Jijie standing beside her. Jijie pursed her lips, grabbed her sister's hand, and looked at me pleadingly. The Civil Affairs officer hesitated. "In principle, children should be assigned to the parent with an income." Lee Jong's eyes darted around. "I don't want that cheap little girl. My grandson must stay." Theo Jew fell silent for a moment before saying, "Since there are 2 children, let's each take one. Jijie stays with me." I was almost amused by his shamelessness. Since the children were born, when had he ever fulfilled his responsibilities as a father? But I also knew Theo Jew's temperament. He was extremely filial and would never contradict Lee Jong's words. Once he said it, he was determined to follow through. I thought for a moment and readily agreed. "All right." Theo Jew gave me a surprised glance, seemingly not expecting me to agree so readily. However, I had already walked up to Jijie and whispered a few words in his ear. Jijie, his chubby face still carrying baby fat, showed a maturity beyond his years as he nodded solemnly at me. I suppressed the slight bitterness and pride in my heart, took the divorce certificate, and left holding Zaishi's hand. There were hardly any of my belongings in that house. Without even packing my clothes, I took Zaishi back to my home. The moment my mother saw me, joy flashed across her face, followed by surprise as she asked, "Where's Jijie?" Lee Jong took him. "But don't worry, Mom, it won't be long before she begs me to take Jijie back." My mother looked furious. I always knew Lee Jong was no good. "Lila, you've had a hard time these years." I gave Zaishi a candy and told her to go play, then discussed with my mother, "Don't worry, Mom, Jijie won't suffer in their home. I'm actually planning to try my luck in the county town. I can't keep going on like this, raising the child alone. I need to find a way out for my child." My mother hesitated for a moment. "Where do you plan to work?" I shook my head. "Not work. I want to open a shop, a restaurant." "Open a restaurant?" My mother was shocked and shook her head disapprovingly. "No, I don't agree. Running a restaurant is something for big bosses. What if you lose money? Mom, don't worry, I'm just opening a small eatery. People have to take risks. What if I actually succeed? After much persuasion and even bringing up Jie's example from Xi, I finally managed to convince my mother. What my mother didn't know was that in my previous life, in order to take good care of Theo Ju, I had put a lot of effort into cooking. Later, when I had the means, I even learned a few signature dishes from a renowned local chef. In this era, those famous dishes from later generations haven't appeared yet. If I were to introduce them now, to use a term from the future, it would be called a dimensional reduction strike. Just as I was pondering where to choose a location for the shop, my mother came out holding a thick cloth bundle. Under my astonished gaze, she opened it to reveal a stack of money, large and small bills, whole and scattered change, all mixed together. Mom, I called out, unable to say anything else, and could only grip her hand tightly. Don't be so weak. What are you crying for? We have to prove ourselves and show those Jews that the Wang family's daughter is no pushover. I nodded heavily. With my mother's money and some of my own savings, I went alone to the town. The town wasn't as developed and bustling as it would be in later years, but traces of its future prosperity were already visible. Following my memory, I found the storefronts that would become popular in the future. There, it was still a small street. I walked into a bungalow. Boss, is this house for rent? The boss was a somewhat honest-looking middle-aged man who had been dozing in a rocking chair. Hearing my question, he stood up in surprise. What did you say? You want to rent this place? I nodded. Yes, I plan to rent it for about 2 years first. The location is particularly good, so I need to secure it quickly to avoid any unexpected issues later. The man awkwardly rubbed his hands together. All right, then name your price. I immediately quoted a suitable price, and the other party agreed without hesitation. When signing the contract, the kind-hearted landlord still reminded me, "Comrade, I must remind you, there aren't many people here. You're renting for 2 years straight. If you're planning to do business, you need to think it through." I smiled faintly. I've made up my mind. He didn't know, but I was well aware that in less than half a month, a large construction crew would arrive here, and those workers would be my main customer base. The contract was smoothly signed, and the boss left with a beaming smile. I was also very satisfied. That very afternoon, I visited quite a few decoration shops and finalized the name of my restaurant as Lila's Diner. All these comings and goings cost quite a bit of money, and even with what my mother had given me, my pockets were nearly empty. I gritted my teeth and had to spend the money where it mattered most. Apart from essential tables, chairs, bowls, and chopsticks, plus the kitchen sign, I decided against any other renovations. I had no choice but to take a gamble, hoping my culinary skills would attract plenty of customers to the restaurant. By the time I finished all this, the sun was already setting in the west. I returned home, exhausted. As soon as I got home, I saw the last person I wanted to see at my doorstep. Theo Ju stood at my door, seemingly hesitant. "What are you doing here?" I rolled my eyes in annoyance. Theo Ju's eyes lit up when he saw me and he stepped forward. "You came at the perfect time. Come back with me and help take care of my mom." I thought there was something wrong with my ears and instinctively reached to clean them. "Theo Ju, have you lost your mind? If I remember correctly, we've been divorced for a day now." Theo Ju rubbed his fingertips together and frowned slightly as he looked at me. "She was your mother-in-law after all, and Jijie is still here. How can my half-paralyzed mother take care of Jijie? If you still care about our past relationship as husband and wife, come back and help take care of my mother." I burst out laughing. Theo Ju saw me laughing and thought he had a chance, but the next second, I grabbed the nearby broom and started whacking him over the head with all my might. "Go to hell. You think I'm your free maid or something? Get out. Get the hell out of here." Theo Ju was beaten by me until he fled in panic, still shouting at me, "You heartless woman, isn't Jijie your child? What's wrong with going back to take care of him?" Fine. Now I understand why Theo Ju, who's always been indifferent to the child, suddenly wanted to keep Jijie this time. He was trying to use this to tie me down. He still thinks I'm that foolish, easily manipulated village woman. After I beat him up, the utterly powerless Jijie ran away in disgrace. My mom, who watched the whole thing, was laughing so hard she doubled over. "Serves you right," my mom spat in contempt. I thought he could at least take care of that old woman for 3 days on his own, but he couldn't even last a day. Now he wants you to go back. How shameless. My mother held my arm and told me about the recent situation. Without me at home to take care of Ili Jong, she's half paralyzed and finally tasting the bitterness. No one to wash clothes, no one to cook, just lying in bed wailing every day. Then my mother asked me again, how did things go today? I nodded. It went fairly smoothly. But I've almost run out of money. Facing the unknown, an inexplicable fear welled up in my heart. What if I fail this time? But quickly, I shook the thought from my mind. I absolutely cannot allow myself to fail. My mom also knew I was tired today, so she changed the subject. Jie is such a clever kid. You wouldn't believe it. Theo Ju's family was in complete chaos today. Hearing this, I became interested and immediately urged my mom to elaborate. Oh, that kid, before dawn. He woke his grandma up demanding pancakes and porridge. With Ili Jong being bedridden, how could she possibly make them? After a while, he said he was going to wash Ili Jong's face, but he couldn't steady the hot water and nearly scalded her half to death. In the morning, he went to let the chickens out and ended up losing 3 of them. You know, Ili Jong treasures those old hens that don't lay eggs like they're gold. My mother laughed uncontrollably. I also smiled faintly, pursing my lips. That child Jie is indeed clever. After hearing what I said the other day, he managed to take it this far. I reckon it won't be long before Ili Jong can't wait to send him back. I gently stroked the little head of Zaishi, who was sleeping soundly beside me, and secretly made a resolution. I must live the life I truly want in this lifetime. Early the next morning, I took an ox cart to town. As soon as I arrived at my shop, the simple yet warm signboard had already arrived. I directed 2 workers to hang it up. The shop was already well set up. Though it felt a bit lonely standing on this quiet street, I deeply understand the saying good wine needs no bush. So I rolled up my sleeves and started making the minced meat topping. This minced meat noodles dish was something I learned in the north in my previous life, and the most flavorful part is the minced meat topping. I took out the braised pork belly from the night before last, diced it finely, and stir-fried it in a pan with already heated oil. Next, I removed the stir-fried pork belly, leaving only the fragrant oil in the pan, then added dried tofu, bamboo shoot dices, water bamboo shoots, shredded carrots, and other ingredients, stir-frying them over high heat. Soon, a rich aroma began to fill the air. Outside, the 2 workers helping me set up the table caught a whiff of the scent, frantically sniffing and swallowing hard. Boss Wang, what delicious dish are you cooking? 2 heads peeked in through the kitchen doorway. You 2 haven't had breakfast yet, have you? You've worked hard this morning. Let me treat you to some noodles. I turned around with a smile, took out 2 large bowls, laid the cooled noodles in them, and ladled 2 generous scoops of minced meat topping over them. That sounds great, the 2 workers shouted cheerfully. Already eagerly seated at the dining table, I had just brought out 2 bowls of minced meat noodles when their eyes lit up, practically glued to the dishes. They picked up their chopsticks and began slurping noisily. Delicious, so good. In no time, both bowls were polished off in just a few minutes. Seeing this, I let out a sigh of relief. It seemed my cooking skills had earned their approval. Boss Wang, how much for a bowl? We can't just eat for free, my friend and I. It's not worth much. I said I'm treating you, so it's on me. I waved my hand. That won't do. Seeing how insistent they were on paying, I smiled and said, really? No need to pay. Just bring me some customers later, and that'll make me happy enough. All right, the 2 workers agreed readily but then hesitated. Boss Wang, with so much meat inside, won't you be losing money? I smiled mysteriously. There isn't a single piece of meat in here. What? They were shocked, but I clearly tasted meat. I explained that it was a seasoning technique, using braised meat broth and stir-fried meat-infused oil to fry pre-prepared vegetarian ingredients, making them taste almost like fresh meat but at a much lower cost. In the future, all my customers will be hard-working folks who aren't picky. They'd be happiest if they could taste meat for the price of vegetables. The leftover braised meat and stir-fried meat can be used to make a few side dishes at noon, earning another bit of income. Everyone is happy. The 2 workers left with sudden understanding. I thought there would only be 2 customers on the first day of opening, but unexpectedly, a few more arrived soon after, drawn by the aroma, overjoyed. I immediately rushed to the kitchen and eagerly started making noodles. By noon, I had already sold 25 bowls of noodles. This result was better than I had imagined, and with 25 bowls sold, I had already recouped yesterday's costs. From now on, it's all profit. Just as I was happily envisioning a bright future, a short man rushed hurriedly into my shop. "Oh dear, Lila, I finally found you. You need to go back quickly. Your mom and Theo Ju's mom are fighting." What? My mind went blank. Without even taking off my apron, I hurriedly followed him out. Theo Ju's house in the village was already surrounded by a crowd, and I could hear the sound of an argument coming from inside. I squeezed through the crowd, grabbed my mother's hand, and looked her up and down. Her hair was a bit messy, but she wasn't injured. Seeing that Jijia and Zaishi, the two kids beside her, were also unharmed, I finally let out a sigh of relief. "Oh, look who's back, our big boss." Ili Zhong's sarcastic voice rang out. "I said those low-class people will always be low-class. Look at you, back at my place, you were picking up cardboard scraps, and now, becoming a chef. What a joke, you'll end up losing even your pants, you damn bastard." I glanced at her and couldn't help but admit that without my care, Ili Zhong was living miserably. In the middle of summer, she probably hadn't showered for days, sticky and faintly reeking of an unpleasant odor. Yet despite this, she seemed to have thought of something joyful, her entire face glowing with delight. My mom immediately bristled with anger, waving her claws as if ready to scratch. Mom, let me handle it, let me." Panicked, I quickly stopped my mom. Ili Zhong, thinking I was weak, laughed even more arrogantly. "I'm telling you, Lila Wang, you can forget about coming to my house now. My Theo is going to marry the daughter of a professor from South City." As soon as she finished speaking, the crowd erupted in murmurs. To people nowadays, South City is such a big place. The daughter of a professor from there must be a young lady from a wealthy family. How could we common folks ever hope to match up? But now, Theo Ju has actually managed to do it. I also frowned. Could my rebirth have triggered a butterfly effect? In my previous life, Theo Ju hadn't even laid eyes on Lin Xiu's face by this time. Ili Zhong saw me frown and thought I was regretting it, making her even more smug. "Lila Wang, it's too late for regrets now," I sneered. "Regret my ass. Your Theo Ju is nothing but a coward. I wouldn't take him even if you paid me $1 million. Now go sell your ass in South City. Do you think the young lady would even look at you? What kind of family is this?" My crude and loud words provoked a burst of laughter from the crowd around us. Ili Zhong's face darkened as she waved for Jijia to come over. "Lila Wang, I'll just wait for you to regret this. Jijia, come here. Let daddy find you a rich stepmother." Jijia looked at me reluctantly, and I gently shook my head at him. He pursed his lips and had no choice but to leave with Ili Zhong first. All right, nothing to see here. Everyone, disperse." I waved my hand, trying to disperse the crowd. Someone comforted me. "It's okay, Lila, the Ju family is really terrible. Getting a divorce is a good thing for you." I nodded and said, "Thank you." After leaving Theo Ju's house, my mother gritted her teeth and said, "That damned Ili Zhong, that damned Theo Ju." "Mom, it's okay, I have good news for you. Business at the restaurant was good today." I told Mom about what happened in the morning. My mom brightened up, but then her face quickly clouded with worry. "If we can raise the child ourselves, we should. We need to get Jijia back as soon as possible. Jijia is so sensible. Don't let that old witch Ili Zhong corrupt him. Theo Ju doesn't even care about him." I nodded. That's exactly what I was thinking. Originally, I thought of letting Jijia do his worst to their family. Ili Zhong, being paralyzed, would surely be unable to bear it and send him back. But now I realize I was too naive. What should I do to figure this out? Suddenly, an idea flashed through my mind. Perhaps I could use Lin Xiu to my advantage. No sooner had the thought occurred to me than I acted. That very day, I sent Zaishi to talk to her brother, urging Jijia to express his dissatisfaction with Lin Xiu. No matter what, he must not accept a stepmother. I even had him make a harsh threat, saying that if Lin Xiu came over, there was no telling what he might do. The stream ghost was quite clever. Upon hearing my instructions, it immediately went to find Jijia. Right after, I spent some money to hire a village elder to whisper in Ili Zhong's ear every day, saying nothing more than how Jijia's heart was with his birth mother, and whether he would be filial was another matter. The real concern was that Lin Xiu might come and do something irreparable to the relationship between Lin Xiu and Theo Ju. Most importantly, What if Lin Xiu and Theo Ju got together and had another chubby grandson? What use would there be for my own child, Lila Wang's offspring? Meanwhile, Jijia intensified his torment of Ili Zhong. Before long, Ili Zhong had someone summon me to her house. Take this damn kid back right now. I looked at Jijia's innocent expression and Ili Zhong covered in the stench of manure, nearly bursting with laughter. Yet I feigned confusion. What's this about? I already have a daughter. You can keep him. Ili Zhong gritted her teeth in anger and shoved Jijia toward me. Take him away. Take him away. I'll have plenty of grandsons in the future. I don't want this little troublemaker. I pretended to hesitate repeatedly, only agreeing when Ili Zhong blurted out that she'd sign a formal release. Jijia was finally back by my side. Seeing the two siblings playing together at last, I finally let out a sigh of relief. The thought of Ili Zhong's relieved expression just moments ago made me snort coldly. I just don't believe that Lin Xiu's father looked down on Theo Ju in their past life, and yet the two of them could still end up together at this time. It's probably Ili Zhong who's busy arranging Theo Ju's next wife, and Theo Ju had no choice but to speak up, while Ili Zhong thought it was a done deal and was overjoyed. Even if Lin Xiu married Theo Ju, their life would undoubtedly be a complete mess. As the daughter of a professor, how could Lin Xiu possibly manage Theo Ju's household, endure poverty, and take care of his half-paralyzed mother at the same time? That old hag Ili Zhong is such a troublemaker. Making me boil water to serve her bath even in the dead of winter. Only someone as patient as me would put up with it. I'm just waiting to see how their miserable life unfolds next. Early in the morning, after settling the two children, I went straight to the restaurant. As soon as the shop door opened, the two workers I had seen the day before arrived with a large group of men dressed in work clothes. When they saw me, they were overjoyed. It's open. It's open. Boss Wang's shop is open. At his call, all the workers came in and took their seats, and because there were too few seats, many of them had to stand. Boss Wang, 1 bowl of minced meat noodles, and half a catty of braised meat. Boss Wang, same for me. The shop echoed with overlapping orders. I was stunned. Why are there so many people? The worker who ate here yesterday laughed and said, they're about to build a new high-rise next door. I've made some new workmates there, and none of them had breakfast. I brought them here to help boost your business, boss. Just as I remembered, a new building is indeed going up next door. I quickly thanked him and hurried into the kitchen to get busy. Bowl after bowl of minced meat noodles came out, and every last one was polished off clean. This morning had me running around in circles, but I was still happy inside. Not only that, but by noon, these workmates came over for lunch. By the end of the day, I was overjoyed counting the money I'd made. After deducting the cost price, I almost earned back half of the renovation expenses today. With such a promising start, the future truly looks bright. On my way home today, I was so happy that I practically floated with every step. I bought 2 pairs of new shoes for the kids and some pastries for my mom. After telling my mom about today's earnings when I got home, she became happy too. Then, she mysteriously pulled me aside. You know what? Theo Ju actually brought back that young lady from the South City. What? I was shocked, vaguely sensing that something had changed. My mom said the whole village went to see Theo Ju and Lin Xiu today, and that Lin Xiu is indeed very beautiful. Ili Zhong was also particularly pleased, but I just let it pass through my ears and immediately tossed it to the back of my mind. Now, Theo Ju has nothing to do with me anymore. In fact, I'm grateful that heaven gave me this opportunity to live out the life I truly want. Now, with both my precious children by my side, I must fight for them and for my mom. As for Theo Ju, he never acted like a proper father all this time, so now that we're free from him and everything related to him, it's actually a good thing. So I happily started gossiping with my mom. Speaking of Theo Ju, this first love of his, in my past life, I only knew he pined for her his whole life. Catching just a glimpse of her at his posthumous wedding, I don't know if he and she did anything inappropriate behind my back when we were together in my past life. If they did, then Lin Xiu jumping into this pit of fire wouldn't be undeserved. Anyway, I don't want to be that diligent housewife anymore. As for Lin Xiu herself, I actually feel indifferent. My mom said that when Lin Xiu arrived that day, Ili Zhong still tried to put on airs as a mother-in-law. But Lin Xiu immediately pulled a long face and left. Theo Ju shouted, "Mom, this isn't Lila Wang. Could you stop causing trouble for me?" and hurriedly chased after her. Ili Jong's face turned a spectacular rainbow of colors. Truly a sight to behold. My mom was overjoyed, then immediately became indignant on my behalf. What kind of talk is that? This isn't Lila Wang. As if you're the only one easy to fool. I patted her back to calm her down. Who cares? Anyway, we have nothing to do with each other now, and both kids are doing just fine. Just wait and see. Theo Ju is so selfish, and Ili Jong is such a troublemaker. Their life together will be a complete mess. I wasn't wrong. In my past life, Theo Ju married his first love at the age of 86, but only because he was wealthy and held a high position. Now, he's penniless. Love without a material foundation is like a house built on sand, let alone with a troublemaker like Ili Jong in the mix. In the days that followed, I stayed at my Lila restaurant. My business is getting better and better. After 3 months, I already have a large sum of money in hand. With more money, I felt completely relaxed, and my thoughts became more active. Currently, my restaurant mainly sells breakfast and lunch fast food because the target customers are the workers nearby. No matter how skilled I am, I can't fully utilize my talents here, but my reputation has already been established. If I open a branch and raise the quality and price of the dishes by a few levels, I might be able to tap into that market as well. As my children grow older, I want them to receive a better education, and resources will be increasingly needed in the future. I started thinking long term, so I used the money I earned in these 3 months to buy a storefront. Although this storefront may seem ordinary now, according to my memories from my previous life, it will become a prime location in the future. Then, I borrowed money again to start hiring clever and talented young chefs, signing contracts, and teaching them some of my signature dishes. At this time, I heard from my mom that Theo Ju actually married Lin Xiu. They actually got married. I was shocked. In my previous life, Theo Ju dropped out of school precisely because he was dating Lin Xiu, the professor's daughter. How did they end up getting married in this life? I couldn't figure it out no matter how hard I tried, but soon I put it out of my mind, because my shop was simply too busy, so busy that I was running around like a headless chicken. The new Lila private restaurant opened its doors. I even specially used my youngest daughter's drawing as the logo. Nowadays, having a logo is a very trendy and almost unheard of thing, but in later generations, this often becomes a shop's signature brand. I intentionally set my sights on the long term, because the new Lila private restaurant offered trendy dishes with a wide variety. It quickly became popular locally, attracting many out-of-town merchants who came specifically for its reputation. These merchants and officials were among the wealthiest and most influential, and they set the trend for this social circle. Or rather, their choices did. In less than a month, the revenue from my Lila restaurant skyrocketed. In both my past life and this one, it's the first time I've seen so much money. I'm practically overjoyed. After giving my mom a big red envelope, I turned my attention to future prime real estate. Once I save up a bit more, I plan to buy each of Jijia and Zai Shi a house. My mom, like a true money lover, pocketed the cash and then mysteriously started gossiping with me. You know what? Theo Ju's family had a big fight. It was quite a scene. My mom has nothing to do these days but keep an eye on Theo Ju's family, noticing every little thing that happens. What's going on? I asked curiously. You'd think marrying your first love would make you happy enough to worship them, but I really don't understand men, alas. Lin Xiu has only been married for a few months. It's said that she eloped with Theo Ju, and neither of them even got a marriage certificate. Ili Jong thought this new daughter-in-law would be easy to control. She didn't behave for long before demanding the new bride to feed her and do her laundry. Lin Xiu put up with it at first. Guess what happened? My mother clapped her hands. This afternoon, Ili Jong soiled her pants again and asked Lin Xiu to carry her for a bath and change of clothes. Even though she had already bathed this morning, TSK, I understood all too well. This was just how Ili Jong was, back when I was her daughter-in-law. She could have called for me when she needed to use the toilet, but she deliberately soiled herself instead, forcing me to bathe and change her. She was so overweight and half paralyzed that each round of this was utterly exhausting, yet she showed no consideration at all. This kind of thing happened 2 or 3 times a day. Whether in the bitter cold of winter or the sweltering heat of summer, this was Ili Jong's own twisted way of disciplining her daughter-in-law, a power play. Plain and simple. And then, I asked, then the two of them started arguing. Lin Xiu isn't exactly patient, so she pinned Li Zhong down and gave her a beating. Theo Ju scolded her, saying she didn't respect his mother. Upon hearing this, Lin Xiu thought, I've already eloped with you, and this is how you treat me. So she stormed off in anger. After all, they didn't even have a marriage certificate. Now Theo Ju is at a complete loss. Between his crying mother and the first love he still adores, he's currently trying to find Lin Xiu and coax her back. My mom and I burst into laughter together. Indeed, after escaping that muddy pit, I felt completely refreshed both physically and mentally. My life is quite routine, basically shuttling between home, restaurants, and eateries in a three-point line. Of course, hard work has also brought me many rewards. I've met many people and learned a great deal. Only then did I realize how wonderful it is to have a career outside the home, beyond the trivial chores of the kitchen and housework, free from being just a housewife. I got home this day and unexpectedly saw Theo Ju lingering at my doorstep again. What are you here for? The moment I saw him, I felt extremely annoyed. I don't even know how I lost my mind and fell for him in my past life. He turned around, and the moment he saw me, his shock and hesitation were immediately visible to the naked eye. Are you Lila Wang? Of course, I knew what he was surprised about. The current me was no longer the dusty, haggard woman from before. I was wearing a well-tailored dress, my hair was curled, and the nourishment from my career had made me radiate confidence. Even my own mother thought I had changed significantly. Who else would it be? I rolled my eyes. A flash of admiration crossed Theo Ju's eyes as he reached out to grab my hand, but I dodged it. Lila, I know you're back. I was wrong. So terribly wrong. Come back to me. I'm the child's father. Let's give our child a home together. My heart skipped a beat as I studied Theo Ju carefully. Now there's a profound sense of weariness and experience in his eyes. This isn't the Theo Ju of this lifetime. His back too. I sneered coldly. What's wrong, in this life? I've let you have your way. You married your first love. Aren't you happy? Aren't you satisfied? Theo Ju thought I was jealous. And his whole demeanor relaxed. Don't mention that, Lin Xiu. Lila, only now do I realize just how wonderful you truly are. Usually, if it weren't for you taking care of the household, looking after the children and the elderly, where would I find the time and energy to pursue my career? That Lin Xiu. All she does day in and day out is boss me around, telling me to do this and that, buy this and that, and she doesn't even take care of my mom. I really just married a trophy wife. Lila, please come back. I can't live without you, and the child can't be without a father. My mom said she really likes you, and as long as you come back, she won't oppose you anymore. I truly regret it. Lila, after listening to Theo Ju's lengthy introspection, I couldn't help but laugh, thinking he had moved me. Theo Ju looked at me with hopeful anticipation, but the next second, I slapped him hard across the face. Fuck you and your bullshit. You can keep that blessing for yourself. Facing Theo Ju's incredulous gaze, I continued my tirade. Theo Ju, you're truly inhuman. Do you still think I'm your nanny? Wasn't being your lifelong servant enough? Get the hell away from me and don't you dare let me see you again. And Lin Xiu, I used to dislike her, but now I just feel sorry for her. If you were a real man and wanted to enjoy her beauty and elegance, you'd have to give something in return. Instead, you take pleasure while nitpicking about her not tending to the household. Don't forget she's also a professor's precious daughter, a young lady. What about you? Truly useless. Now that you've married me, you start picking faults, running away at the first sign of trouble. You always turned a blind eye when Li Zhong bullied me, and now that both kids are about to start school, you suddenly care. Don't play the saint with me. I was wondering why fate allowed someone like you to be reborn. Turns out it was just to make you witness the good life I have now. I rattled off a torrent of words, glaring at him with disgust. Get lost. Go far away. Do you think getting back together with me is some kind of favor? Let me tell you, it's as worthless as shit. Get out. I pretended to grab the broom beside me, and Theo Ju scurried away in a panic. I laughed. But as I laughed, tears started to fall. For all the times I wasn't worth it before, after crying my fill, I felt the banknotes inside my wallet and my mood brightened again. That useless Theo Ju had no idea. I was now the owner of half the street, and my next goal was to take over the entire street. Humming a tune, I opened the door and saw two small figures running toward me from a distance, with Mom standing by the doorframe, smiling.